as a content creator, think about the what makes you unique. You know, don't try and copy what other people are doing, but like, what's your thing? Like, what are you good at? What are you passionate about? And like, do that thing and be the best at doing that thing.
2.4 million. That's not, you know, even views on a video over an entire period of time.
Live, what?
Concurrent live all at one time.
We're talking about it as if it was like a lot of viewers on Twitch, but relative to other events that happen, this is like the equivalent of a cultural moment. Don't necessarily need to be the next Ninja or the next Pokemon or the next Valkyrie. How can you just make a living doing what you love? You know, there's so many talented creators out there, and some people just need an extra supporting hand. Like, they've got all the raw ingredients. We just want to give them a lift up. We wanted you to be one of the first recipients of the Pipeline X Corsair Scholarship Program.
No way.
For 2021.
I'm shaking right now. I don't even know what to say.
I'm just trying not to cry.
My hands and body doesn't know what to do right now.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the State of Streaming show by Pipeline. In this series, we sit down, look at some of the events that are going on in the industry, keep you guys updated, as well as share some of our own thoughts, what that means for ourselves in the space, as well as just creators as a whole. We are recording these live with all you guys on Twitch, on Facebook. Big shouts, say what up in the chat. Great to see you all here. We will be reading the chat, of course. My name is Stone Mountain 64, full-time streamer, co-founder of Pipeline, joined by Snoop A, co-founder.
What's up, everybody? Good morning.
Good morning, man.
Good morning.
We have prepared some snippets for some of the content we're going to be talking about today, and there's quite a bit. The first thing we're going to be announcing is the winners of the Corsair Pipeline Scholarship that we've put together, which is incredible. We'll tell you some more details about some of that, get into that in a second. Greg, or TheGrefg, I don't know how you say his name.
I don't know how you say it either, I'll be honest with you.
He's a Spanish-speaking, you know, streamer creator. He hit an all-time record concurrent that's just mind-blowing. We'll get into some of that. Talking a little bit about kind of the middle-class creator economy, what that kind of means, what hopefully we would like to see some improvements on in that front. TikTok, New York creator house mayor. TikTok we keep on talking about, but that's just because this thing keeps on blowing up. There's so much in that space, and I think there's a lot that streamers are finding a lot of success on there as well within, so I think it's good to keep up on all of that. Being a healthy gamer, you know, counseling, and some of the kind of health or mental health attitude points. We'll talk about some of that. And even TikTok Sea Shanties and how some of that applies. But first thing we got for you guys today is the announcement of the winner. Steven, I don't know.
Yeah, I think before we jump in, I think it's important to call out the scholarship program and our goals with it. Like, our whole goal here is we want to help people turn their passion into career. We're going to get a little bit into that later on with the middle class creator economy, but you know, there's so many talented creators out there, and some people just need an extra supporting hand. Like, they've got all the raw ingredients. We just want to give them a lift up. And that's our goal with the scholarship program, is how can we accelerate what they're already killing and crushing at? How can we help accelerate and add more support? We teamed up with the folks at Corsair, Elgato, Zygo Media to put this together. We're running 4 of these this year. And there's going to be 3 recipients every quarter. So this is the first kickoff of the Pipeline Corsair Scholarship Program. I'm very stoked about it, but I know you don't want to hear me talking about it. There's a lot of people that are tuning in who want to know who are the recipients. So Mark, you want to cue the clip? We wanted you to be one of the first recipients of the Pipeline X Corsair Scholarship Program
No way.
for 2021.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited.
I was not expecting that to be announced.
Thank you so much.
That's life-changing.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Things I should outline on the scholarship program. So I don't know if you remember all the benefits of it. One of them is the $2,000 a month stipend.
Yep.
The second part is you're also going to get your gear upgraded by the Corsair and Elgato team for up to $3,000. So whatever gear you've been thinking about getting or needing, they're going to hook it up for you. You're going to get weekly one-on-one coaching over the next 12 weeks. So that's with myself, Stone, Nathan. You're going to get folks on the team across like branding, editing, marketing, things like that. You're also going to get video editing support from the guys at Zygo Media. I don't know if you've heard of those, but they help folks like Ninja, Stillman64. They're one of the best editing companies in the world. So they're going to be doing at least a video a week for you on that side and working directly with you to train you up on the video editing side. You're also going to get some ad creation support as well. We're going to teach you how to do ads and understand how that works. You're also going to get promotion from us and the Pipeline team as well. What part of the scholarship are you most excited about?
Man, there's so many phenomenal things. I mean, the one-on-one coaching I know is going to be extremely valuable. The editing, since I have been putting a big focus on YouTube, having some editing advice, creation advice for like my path on YouTube to help grow the channel and everything, I think is probably going to be one of the biggest helps for sure. Aside from the one-on-one coaching as well.
I'm most excited about the content creation outside of streaming because I struggle with that. Honestly, that is the one thing I struggle with as a streamer is, you know, the streaming aspect. I believe that I can do that, but creating content, like taking my videos and editing it, it's been kind of tough. And to have this opportunity, I can't express in words how grateful I am.
I'm really looking forward to the help though. As a newer streamer, I mean, getting help with the video editing and the tech side of things, it's been a lot to learn because I don't have much experience in those areas. So I think that's going to be so helpful, so helpful.
So I'm shaking right now. I don't even know what to say.
I know you can't see me right now, but I'm just trying not to cry.
My hands and body doesn't know what to do right now.
Just to know that the work is paying off, it's a great thing. It's a great thing.
We really want to be there for you and help make 2021 your best year ever. God, look at how emotional it feels. It's so exciting to be on the journey with them. As you saw, y'all seen, we have Television, who is an absolutely phenomenal streamer on Facebook. She's been part of Pipeline for a long time, and I'm so excited to see her continue her journey. She's absolutely crushing it. We've got Iron Smithy, who is a legend within the Pipeline community. He's a former veteran and has been crushing it, roaming the seas, playing Sea of Thieves on Twitch. We've got Silver Sable, who is a mental health professional who has been crushing it on World of Warcraft since she started streaming only just late last year. So excited to start working with all three of them. And again, I just want to emphasize that there were hundreds of applicants for the scholarship program. We could only choose 3. There is going to be another chance. So we're doing this every quarter. So the next one's going to be in a couple of months. Get ready, prep your applications, think about how you want to be a part of the scholarship program. We are really committed to doing this and helping and trying to accelerate that curve again of you turning it into a career. So huge thanks to our partners, Corsair, Zygo, for really stepping up. Shout out to Nathan, who's running the program on our side as well. It's going to be a really exciting 12 weeks. I can't wait to kick it off.
This is like, I could have only ever dreamed of something like this. Even like, it's just so crazy with the support, stipend, gear upgrades, just like off the rip of everything. And you know, this is the first time we're really trying this program out as well. I feel like this is going to be awesome. I think these guys are going to crush it. And you know, what do you think is? I mean, obviously, you heard some of what they were most excited about. What do you think is some of the stuff that is going to be exciting for these guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think when Iron Smithy was touching on the one-on-one mentorship, you know, there's a lot of knowledge stored within my journey, your journey, within other folks on our team's journey, through the design side, through the marketing side, and things like that. And I think getting to tap into all of that experience and get some one-on-one mentorship is a huge win. The editing support, I think, is phenomenal. It's one of the hardest things as a streamer to stay on top of and consistently create video content for YouTube. And the Zygo guys are some of the best in the business. I mean, they work with Ninja, they work with you, they work with Tim, they work with some of the top creators in the industry. And I think that's such a great opportunity to learn how it's done by the pros.
I know, like, even, you know, figuring out editing, sometimes even in the first place, can be really tough. And a lot of trial can go into it. So the more you can kind of speed that process up, hopefully the better. And I know that's where a lot of people have difficulty. That's what I talk to a lot of people about, you know, in the sessions. And it is hard to not only do it, but to stay on top of it. So to kind of fully focus on that and hopefully, you know, take another huge step here. I think there's always going to be different areas where you plateau at a whole bunch of different times, but hopefully this is something that can just be a huge leverage to keep on amping everything up with it. So it's It's cool, man. I'm really, really excited to see how this goes, and I hope the program thrives and we continue to do even more awesome stuff around this.
Yeah, and I think everyone should go give them a follow. It's at Iron Smithy, it's at the Silver Sable, and it's at Television. We will be dropping those on our social. So go, please. There's Iron Smithy on screen right now. Go give him a follow. He's an absolute legend, and it's just the beginning of his journey. The same with Television. Like, make sure you go give her a follow on Facebook. She is crushing it at the moment. It's at TELL Vision. So go check her out on Facebook, and the same with Silver Sable on Twitch. Go give her a follow, check her out. We'll post these on our socials if you missed it. But we really want to help support and elevate them. We really believe in each one of them as content creators and want to help them be successful. And also all of you that applied, again, make sure you stay tuned for applications opening again in a couple of months. We are running this program throughout the entire year. So with that said, Stone, we have a couple of topics that you touched on earlier to get to. One of them is absolutely record-breaking, literally.
I can't even.
Spanish Twitch streamer TheGrefg hits 2.4 million concurrent viewers while revealing his Icon Series Fortnite skin. To put this in perspective, Ninja's record for concurrent viewers on Twitch is 600,000, just a quarter of TheGrefg's stream. But due to the language barrier, most English-speaking viewers haven't heard of him, which also means difficulty in monetizing as well. Wrestlers have found success in translating for their English audiences for years, like El Niño, which is Spanish for The Niño. Why don't Spanish-speaking streamers make more when they have so many more viewers? If I speak Spanish, should I start streaming in Spanish?
Do you know what that El Nino thing is?
I'm not sure actually. No,
I have no idea, but I'm sure it's a meme somewhere. Yeah, I mean, this was, well, I don't know how to properly say it, if it's TheGrefg or TheGrefg. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe chat, you can help us out on that side. But
it's a Saturday Night Live skit or bit.
I see.
For the thing there. Yeah, Greg. So when I first heard about this, I thought people were like, "Oh, he's at 2 million concurrents," because I was streaming at the time as well. I was like, "What are you guys telling me this because he's botting, or like there's something going on?" But no, this is legit. The announcement of the Fortnite skin in the game. Obviously, this is a very big moment. Ninja has one. Loser Fruit, I believe, has one. And I think it's only those two, to my knowledge, right now. But it's something that's very, very rare, and it's something that brings, obviously their entire community together. But even bigger outside of that, like this is now in game and one of the biggest games in the entire world. Even though Fortnite may not be the strong one that blew up a few years ago or whatever, clearly it's got a ton of staying power. With 2.4 million, that's not even views on a video over an entire period of time,
Live watching,
current live, all at one time. So you got to imagine people are constantly cycling out through as well. It's way more millions and millions of views in total of what was even seen on the stream. That was at 1 point, which is, it's got to be one of the craziest numbers just in general. Even if you're talking about like TV shows or sports events or whatever, this is a whole nother level of.
It's a cultural moment.
Yeah.
We're talking about it as if it was like a lot of viewers on Twitch, but relative to other events that happen, this is like the equivalent of a cultural moment that was happening on Twitch. And it is, I was watching it and I remember it being around 600K viewers, and I was like, wow, this guy, like, who? I didn't know who he was. I knew there's some like large Fortnite streamers. Like, I don't know if you check any of the Stream Hatchet reports and things like that. Like, they've got if you look at the top 10 streamers in the world, something like 6 out of 10 of them are Spanish. So I knew that it was big. I didn't realize how big. And he was at 600K, that was an hour and a half. He was at 600K, and that was an hour and 30 minutes before he was revealing skin.
That is so mind blowing.
And then it obviously, all this hype started rolling, and then every creator on Twitter and things like that started learning about it, and everyone started hyping it up. And then just went from 600K to 2.2 million at the peak. Absolutely phenomenal.
It's a great thing to do in general too. Is like, even you'll see a lot of creators in general, if they have an announcement, they'll usually make that announcement at the hour point or the 2 hour point And the bigger something is, the longer you can kind of put it off and allow that, hype to build up of what is the announcement and some of that. I've done it a couple times. I usually keep mine more about an hour. But I mean, we've seen things even like when Dr. Disrespect is coming back to his stream, where he would just post the stream. He didn't even announce a specific time of when this was going to happen. And then he ended up taking the stream down, and then he started another stream the next day, just leaving a whole bunch of speculation up to this huge announcement of whatever it was. It's a really good kind of thing to do. And so to sit at, because that still is people that are watching the stream, interest, even if you could throw a couple things in here and there. I don't know necessarily if you did or anything, but again, going back to even the Dr. Disrespect example, he kept on playing a couple images here and there. We've seen even games do this with their own streams and some of the announcements, even Fortnite doing a lot of that as well, even in their own game and such. But it really is a great way to capitalize on such a incredible moment for himself, for the community, and to blow the numbers up as big as he did there is hopefully like an awesome milestone in general for content creators and for streamers, even, any content creator in this space. But to be pulling such record-breaking numbers is like, if this becomes more and more normal, that's where, I think everything's course going. But it's just
rising boat lifts all. Is it rising tide lifts all boats? That's what it is. And it truly does. When you hit this new frontier, it becomes like, oh, that's what you can do now. And everyone starts to kind of level up. And we've seen that ever since the Ninja Drake moment. We're seeing that again with Greg. Like, you now know what's possible. Every time Mr. Beast does something that's absolutely ludicrous, which is like seemingly every other month he's doing something crazy, it's like, oh, that's possible. And it kind of, breaks your own boundaries of thinking about what you can do. Ryan's Toys making a couple of $100 million in merchandising, like, it tells you that that's possible. And you can start to think, oh, what could I create, or what could I do there? I think for the Spanish streaming market, I think it's just understanding, it is one of the biggest in the world. And there's live streaming is much bigger than your kind of world in the West, specifically in the US. It's way bigger than that. And I think as you're creating content, know that it's very much a global audience, not just a Western audience.
The thing too is to know is like different cultures take different, like they recognize different things, right? I've spoken with some Spanish speaking creators, and even, in Mexico, and there's a different cultural barrier even into how people think about some of the content and the content creation. And I don't know if there's just less people that are even doing it and taking the attempt and going to some of these places that there are. But that's something to keep in mind as well, is like maybe there is less competition, and it's also an opportunity to figure out like, how do you make content that is going to appeal to everybody, right? It's just like even in the States or whatever, not everybody necessarily watches streams or even watched it that was watching it 3 years ago. So there's constantly a development, and I think the more you can bring people onto that, really the better.
Yeah, it talks about, our next topic is going into about how there's a middle class of the creator economy and how that's developing. There's a girl called Legion who made a great article on that, talking about not those at the very top necessarily, but those that are, in the middle class of the creator economy. Mark, you want to cue the clip?
Harvard Business Review's Lee Jin gives his best advice on how we can help build the middle class for the creator economy. 52% of adults live in middle-income households, but only 2% of Patreon creators make minimum wage as creators. Here are some ways we can help foster a long-lasting middle class for creators. Focus on content types with lower replay value. Empower niches. Introduce more randomness in algorithms. Facilitate collaborations and community. Provide capital for up-and-coming creators. Make Reddit upvotes worth $1. Link creators better with superfan capital support. Create passive income opportunities. Offer universal creative income. Provide creator education and training. Of that list, what do you think will be the most effective at sustaining a middle class for creators?
If they actually made it so there was $1 for every Reddit upvote, that'd be absurd. There wouldn't be enough money in the whole world for that.
Yeah, they're definitely Legion. I don't know if you've read any of her stuff, but she is one of the most thoughtful thinkers and very articulate about describing the creator economy. She wrote a whole thing on the passion economy, and this recent write up on the Harvard Business Review is about the middle class of the creator economy. And what she's talking about is that there's all these platforms, and you've got the people at the very top that are winning, and then you've got this whole kind of long tail that's not necessarily winning. And this is true on a lot of channels, Patreon, YouTube, etc. And she's advocating for what's called the creator middle class, which is you don't necessarily need to be the next Ninja or the next Pokemon or the next Valkyrie. How can you just make a living doing what you love? And that's something at Pipeline we really believe in, is that you don't have to you make hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. You just have to make a livable wage so that you can do more of what you love. And I think she's touching on some of those ideas I think are probably not possible. Like your point with the Reddit dollar or a universal creator income. I think some of these are challenging.
The one that stood out to me in terms of Mark's question was, you know, introducing more randomness into the algorithm. I think that's what we're even seeing with, you know, Facebook, for example, where there is a certain element of randomness and people are getting picked up and getting interest in some of that degree. But I think even much better example of this really is TikTok. I think their algorithm in general has really been a proving grounds that the rest of the entire industry is now having to actually shift towards, because they are just taking so many eyeballs in general. And one of the things with that is how random the algorithm is, where you can just be creating, you know, a piece of content that's relevant to enough people. It samples it, however the algorithm works, that can pick up and blow up. And people have made insane careers, even at the highest level with some of it. But even, you know, just in general, been able to build audiences and build, you know, some traction and some even revenue through some of that. So to me, that's been one of the most interesting things. And I think that's one of the directions that I think a lot of places can go in terms of, you know, helping to elevate other creators, is giving them that space in whatever the, you know, top slot is. I think the algorithm and how people watch content, whether that's like the home page on their YouTube or just whatever shows up on their feed on Instagram or any of these platforms, that's a lot of where the base comes from. And so
it's interesting you say that, because I kind of want to poke a little bit. Like I do agree TikTok's created some amazing opportunities, but
yeah,
in speaking with a lot of creators, one of the things I've heard is that it's important to have reliability in the platform. Like if I keep investing more time, I can see like a linear growth, right? I know that over time, the more effort I put in, that I'm going to be rewarded for that, and the distribution is reliable. Distribution on TikTok, for example, is not very reliable, right? It can be very spiky. Like one video can get, you know, hundreds of thousands of views. One video could get 50 views.
It can be super spiky, right? It absolutely can. I mean, I think the same thing could still even be said about Reddit, about a lot of different things. Like I had a video blow up on Reddit, and I had an insane spike that I didn't keep, right? Like I lost 90% of it. But the people that did stick around, the people that I did continue to create content for, the ones that I did convince to show the rest of the content, the series and the platform and everything that I had and I was going with, that's how I actually retained people.
I want to ask the chat, because a lot of them are earlier on the side. Would you prefer having more predictability, so like, you know, you go from 1 viewer to 5 viewers to 10 viewers, or the chance to spike to 100 viewers? So like just a little bit more randomness in the algorithm.
It's a good question. But I also mean, in the sake of the algorithm, is even if you already have an audience or whatever, that still needs to be populating in people's algorithms. Where are people going? They're going to their home feed. They're going to the stuff that auto populates for them. That's where, not even the sake of spiking, but that's where it needs to account for smaller creators, or, you know, just in general, everybody, not just the most viral thing that's got the most hits on it. Everything needs to be served into the algorithm, even just general content, what it is.
Yeah, you're right. Like we're seeing a lot of newer platforms like Clubhouse. We talked about this a couple of weeks back. It's relatively new, and it has now it's got like 1 million or 2 million users on it. Someone's got 600,000 followers on that already.
Consistent, more predictability. A lot of people are saying predictability. Exactly. Stability is more key.
I think especially in the early stages, that's like really important, is that you're putting in so much time, and really your audience is really small when you're first starting. And it's like, I just want to see that go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. And if I can see that, then I can like project out where things are going to go. I think having 0 viewers constantly or 5 viewers constantly is like, oh, when is it ever going to go up? And I think that's where that predictability is. Like, I just need to get to a point where I can sustain this and justify doing it. And I think early on that the desire for that is stronger than I would like to see a massive spike.
And I think it is, and I think that desire is definitely there. But I think in a lot of ways, and I think a lot of the ways you look at it, a lot of the stuff is often it is like, you know, the new game comes out, and it's not necessarily like you went from 5 to 10 people, but you might have gone from 5 to 50 people or 5 to 100 people, and then that slowly drifts off. That's what I've experienced a lot over time as well. Is like, you know, sometimes you'll see an elevation, interest in a game, and interest in something, and then it's, well, people don't really care about that update anymore, but some people do stick around from it, and so it's kind of always a development with it. And I think that, you know, obviously the spikes are great too, but even just how the distribution, to your guys' point, keeps that going and keeps everybody in it, I think is at least serving that up. And general content is important too.
Speaking of TikTok and giving more distribution, this topic's pretty interesting. We've got a clip on TikTok and the New York mayor. Mark, you want to roll it?
New York City may see an influx of TikTok houses. NYC mayoral candidate Andrew Yang says he would, quote, work to attract content creator collectives, such as TikTok hype houses, where young artists collaborate. We need to help create similar artist collectives that utilize new technologies, end quote. New York City has long been the cultural epicenter for performing arts, with Broadway being the world stage. With that stage being closed, creators like Emily Jacobson help bring Broadway performers to the TikTok stage, raising $1.5 million for Ratatouille the musical. What story would you like to make into a TikTok musical, and will New York or Texas be the hub for future content houses?
That's crazy, man.
I mean, it is. Andrew, I thought it was the New York mayor. Andrew Young's not the New York mayor. He's the candidate. He's running for a mayor, and he's a very like progressive, younger guy. And I think he's like, oh, we could create hype houses and like be a way for cities to attract young influencers. It is this wild. I mean, could you imagine politicians supporting hype houses?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, the biggest influx that we've seen of this really, I mean, from what I've seen at least, has been LA, where some of the, you know, biggest creators, whether that's, you know, obviously it started even with clans, you know, FaZe Clan and some of the such, but TikTok houses coming together as well. I think a big thing for creators, though, especially in earlier states or stages of things, is looking even for regions where there's more benefits for taxes. I think even at the higher end, that's where a lot of people have been moving. We've seen a lot of creators just in the last few years. We were even talking about it in previous couple episodes of people moving over to Florida, moving over to Texas, because there's no state income tax and your money just goes that much further, especially if you're, you know, not completely stable and trying to figure some of this stuff out in the first place. It's like things can fluctuate a lot. So everything really helps. And so we've seen a big move on that. And I don't know if that would be something that they'd be interested in, to bring people over for that even, but
I mean, we're thinking about that too. As an entrepreneur, which is what a creator is,
right.
you really, you know, the first few years of your journey, you're not going to be making that much, and you're sacrificing, you know, working a normal job, and like you really want to make sure that you can stick it out and keep at it. And lowering your cost of living is one way to do that while you're in the building phase. And I think that's just important for creators to keep in mind. LA is always been like a magnet for talent. It has, but I think it's starting to lose that. And we're seeing a lot of folks moving, to your point, like places like Florida or places like Texas. I mean, I myself, like me and my wife are considering moving to Texas, and I know a bunch of creators that have already moved to Austin. There's a massive network of creators that are already in Austin, and Las Vegas as well is like another spot, just because the cost of living is much lower, taxes are much lower, and it allows them to focus on building their business.
Well, that's what I think is kind of interesting here is, you know, it's specifically talking about some of the performing arts, Broadway. I mean, that is the epicenter of that, right? Like that is massive. But I don't know how much that continues, especially with everything locked down and everything that's been going on. More things have been moving online. Obviously, when you're talking streaming, when you're talking content creation, that's online anyways. There is definitely a lot of benefit to bringing people together in one house or even into a common space to create. Look at even OTK, I think it is, the World of Warcraft guys. Like Asmongold created their own organization now, and they've been creating a whole bunch of content together, spectating the race to world first, and like they've been able to continue to elevate what they're even doing through the streaming space by coming together and creating. Even though it's kind of more of an organization, they have like a house, they have a space where they create content and such as well, and like that is just a huge opportunity to continue to grow. I mean, we've seen this with tons of different teams and organizations in the past. Even if it's not necessarily the formality of necessarily a house and having a space for that, even just teams of people coming together or content groups coming online, even back to, some of the original ones that I remember of the crew with KYR Speedy over on YouTube and a lot of those guys that are, it's like that collaborative effort of that content that you wouldn't necessarily be able to create yourself, and it continues to resonate again in different areas, even with TikTok now, and Broadway bring it into the space as well.
Yeah, it's just we're seeing this. I mean, AOC, the whole when she was getting on Twitch, we're just starting to see all politicians try to interact more with a younger audience, and like they're coming into the content creation space. We saw David Dobrik and Mr. Beast doing a bunch of activations around that as well, and I think we're just going to see more of these worlds colliding as they try and interact with a younger base. And I think incentives like this are really cool. I know esports has seen a bunch of incentives for certain cities, like Arlington in Texas, create a bunch of grants to build an esports facility there. And we're starting to see that happen throughout the US. So I think it's just, can we create more incentives for younger folks to live and want to build here? And I think California, quite frankly, which has been a hub, is too expensive. It's just way too expensive, and creators are realizing that they're spending so much money, especially throughout the pandemic where there's been such a lockdown, is that they're spending so much money and not getting much from it. And they could be making so much more and saving so much more elsewhere. So I think we will
say municipalities giving grants to esports. That's great. Like I think if there was some cool ways that they could support the industry as a whole, obviously, like that much cooler. I think as well, like if you can use that for developmental or cultural development as well into an area, like again, that much cooler. I think that is something that can be, an attractor to people coming into a region, just as Broadway is, just as LA, maybe more so was, or still to, of course, a degree is with all of the productions and movies and all those things that they're going on there. But like, can somewhere else, like maybe it is New York, maybe they can successfully pull this off with TikTok and bring a lot of people in that front. Maybe it ends up being a place in Texas. Maybe it ends up being a place in Florida even. Or
I've seen Justin Graves in chat said, Florida's full, turn back. We don't want you to come to Florida. So I think there is actually a huge influence, especially if Californians and folks from New York like going to these places.
Sure.
And I've seen so many memes about people trying to like Californify Texas. The Texans are like, go away, we don't want this. But yeah, I think we'll see a lot more on that front. Anyway, we've got another topic coming up, which is about mental health, which is an incredibly important part and something we care about at Pipeline a lot, is managing your mental health as a content creator, because there is so many ups and downs, and it's a challenging thing to keep on top of. Dr. K is one of the leaders in this area. He's huge on Twitch. You might have seen him before. Mark, you want to roll the segment?
Dr. K's Healthy Gamer channel is one of the leading resources for streamers getting advice on mental health. Most recently, Healthy Gamer launched their peer counseling pilot program, which trains participants into becoming coaches. Creators can book sessions with those coaches for discounted rates for as low as $24 per session in a 16-pack of group-led sessions. The Zen Buddhist approach to streaming group session will be led by Tyler One. How can I be a better peer with my content creator coworkers?
I'm pretty sure that was a joke at the end. I'm pretty sure Tyler One is not the beacon of mental health for Dr. K's program. But it raises such a good point. Dr. K is really I think he was a Harvard psychologist and a passionate gamer, and he combined both of those things and started talking about mental health and interviewed some of the top streamers on his show. Folks like, every top streamer I think he's now had a conversation with about what their journey with mental health's been.
Mhm.
and it's just great work. And I'm so glad to see not just in the content creation space, but just in gaming as a whole, is how can you promote mental health and do more there. I think even for us at Pipeline, it's something we want to do more of and a better job of. So if you do have ideas in the chat about how we can do a better job of supporting on the mental health side, all ears. It's something we really care about. We'd love to work with Dr. K as well. I think it raises some good points. Is what is important around mental health for content creators? Like, what is it for over the years, David? I think what have you done? Because you've been in the space now for a decade. You've had many ups and downs throughout that. What is the things that help you on the mental health side?
Well, what's really hard about this space is just it's nonstop, and it's also something you enjoy. And it's also something that's like you kind of get addicted to the whole process of everything, and like, continuing working, especially for myself. Like, I always really like making progress and trying to build something. Like, it started as like, I like playing games, but how do I actually maybe do something a little more productive with some of the time and what I'm doing? And now I'm creating these contents. Oh, I got 10 videos up. Oh, I hit 100 videos. And that was something that, everybody would celebrate. They see you got 100 videos up. So it's like, okay, how do I do another 100 videos? And keep on doing do these things. But it's super easy to just get completely locked in and stay into that. Something that's been super helpful for me, honestly, has just been my girlfriend at the time, now wife. She really helps to kind of balance me out in terms of being 100% full speed ahead on content creation, which is super easy to get lost in, especially after 5, 6. I've been doing this for 9, coming up on 10 years now. It's like, man, people start asking me about like, "Oh, what sports do you like? Or what do you like outside of this?" And it's like, "Well, nothing." It's like, I
It's
don't
all I
know
think
anything
about.
else. All I've been doing is studying and working at school, and then doing content creation. That's pretty much it. So it's kind of like always figuring out how do I do something else in front of that, and part of that pressure has just been like, okay, well, I do need to focus on a little bit of something else. So that's been really helpful, whether that's, keeping my Saturday nights open, having some proactive things that, I'm not only building obviously with my content, but also building my relationship with her. And that continues to evolve over the years. It's still, of course, not perfect, but that's been a tremendous help for me as I've just been going through everything. And, to have somebody that's supportive of me, or if, I have a hard day or I get some bad comments or whatever, I can talk about that. And she's like, "Oh, it doesn't make any sense." It's like somebody that knows me and can understand and be in a similar space as me has always been incredibly helpful.
Yeah, I think having people around you that get it and kind of can support you is so important. It's one of the things, at Pipeline is that there's so many other content creators that are in it with you, that are on the journey and get it and are going through the same thing. So even if you don't immediately have people around you in your close family or your friends that get it, there's other content creators that get that journey and can talk about it and share. And I think I really encourage that is talk with your peers as much as you can, and kind of open up. It's not the easiest thing, and it's a brave thing to be the first to open up on that site and talk to someone about what's going on for you. But if you can, it helps a whole lot. I've learned that throughout my career as well.
It's hard too to find the right people. It took me years to find, the guys that I even still play with today, that I've befriended. I've, met a lot of people along the way, and then, don't talk to a lot of the people as well along the way, as things have been going through. And that has been a massively helpful thing as well, as just having other creators. Because even, before I even was creating content, I was like, messing around in some lobbies, having a good time. And literally the people that I did know and people that I was friends with recorded me just to show me how stupid I was and how ridiculous I looked, going into lobbies and yelling or, trying to troll people or whatever I was doing. And like they totally didn't understand, and then telling them about it. And then it's fun too to see, people develop over time as well, right? It's like 3, 4 years later, they understand a little bit what I'm doing. They see some of the content of what I'm doing, and they understand it a bit more. And that it's kind of fun to see people come around on it too. That I was closer with in the past as well.
Another thing that I find in working with hundreds of creators is that if you've got a significant other, is how can you kind of help them understand what you're doing, and like appreciate it rather than it being like a resistant thing. Like I'm doing this, whether you like it or not. It's like, how can you help explain it to them a little more and bring them on that journey? It's something I really advise, and it's one of the things that we talk about a bunch of in pipeline. For those that have significant others, is bringing them on the journey. And some of the most successful creators are, like Ninja and his wife Jessica. They've got Cypher and his wife as well. There's a bunch of creators that are working more closely on that front. And I think the more you can bring them on in that journey, for the long term will be better.
Definitely. And speaking of creative collaborations and working with other people, we got our last topic for you.
Creative collaboration is thriving on TikTok with 200-year-old Sea Shanties. One main wave maker is 26-year-old Nathan Evans, a postman from outside Glasgow, Scotland, who grew his 45,000 TikTok followers to 347,000 in less than a month, thanks to his Wellerman performance. Sea Shanties' primary purpose was to help coordinate sea labor like removing and reinserting handspikes into a windlass, an anchor hauling mechanical device. Collaborative performance is on the rise with TikTok and now Facebook's collab app. What's the next big collaboration you want to start? Why are Scottish people the coolest?
Yeah, it's a good question, Stone. Why are Scottish people the coolest?
I was playing with a couple of them yesterday. It actually is true. They're pretty cool. Not gonna lie. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of fun collaborations. I think we're seeing more of that even with some of the athletes in the world coming into content creation and such. But it's interesting to see, even like in the IRL space of, which is, I guess creating songs or sea shanties. Maybe that doesn't necessarily relate as well to streaming. Maybe it does. I don't know. But to see that kind of brought over to TikTok and to find a home for it and grow it, or even just like even music outside of some of the more mainstream of Spotify, of iTunes. I've seen so much of that blowing up on the platform and kind of circumventing it, where their song's already insanely viral before it's even played on the radio. It's like, it's interesting to see some of these new outlets and new ways for people to get discovered, and to, if they've got something great to put out, it can get recognized, it can get seen by a bunch of people and actually blow up off of it.
And that's the thing. One, by Glasgow is where this guy's from. I grew up 20 minutes from there. It's like like my hometown. But I think the big point here is how, as a content creator, think about what makes you unique. Don't try and copy what other people are doing, but like, what's your thing? Like, what are you good at? What are you passionate about? And like, do that thing and be the best at doing that thing. It's the best creators that I know have kind of carved their own niche. Like they've made their own thing that they're passionate and they're good at. If they can do that and run with that, that's some of the best creators I know. Rather than trying to emulate or copy the next person, because you'll always be chasing your tail in that sense. The more you can build the confidence yourself of like, this is a cool idea, I want to go do it, the more creative your content's going to be and the more authentic your content's going to be. And I think this is an example of this guy from Scotland who's doing sea shanties. It's just something he's passionate about, started making videos on it, and now he's blowing up on TikTok. And I think as you're thinking about streaming, because I know I've got a lot of streamers listening, is there's so many different ways to make content. It's not like, it doesn't have to be prescriptive. It doesn't have to be Call of Duty. It doesn't have to be Fortnite. There's so many different ways that you can get started in making content, and there's so many different platforms now. There didn't used to be that many platforms, but you can get started in so many different places. So just think about being a little more creative on that front. I think one of the things that this Mark was touching on is the collaboration side. How important is collaboration for you these days? I know you mentioned you were playing with a bunch of guys yesterday. How important is the collab side? Do you do a lot of it right now?
Yeah, especially with for me, it was like when Apex Legends came out, that game you could only play as a team. So I was like, I always needed people to play with, because I just couldn't play that game by myself. And so that was really like a huge turning point for me in terms of almost always playing with other people, especially, during that time when I was playing it. Now I've got a little bit more where I'm playing solos again, and that's been great. A lot of my experience, even when I was playing like PUBG or Battlefield, a lot of these other games, I would just play by myself, play with random people, play with the community, play with people that were watching, and or even some other streamers at different points, but it's definitely, something that I probably could have even utilized sooner, and it's something that I'm still trying to figure out and best use going forward, because every day people are like, "Oh, you should play with this guy, you should play with that guy, you should play with this guy." But it's also like, "Okay, well, what about the stream of what I'm creating right now? Like, do you not like what I'm doing right now?" Because everybody's like, "Go play with this guy." I was like, but it's a really fine thing to balance, because it's like, well, how much do I address that if it's, I can't just reply to that the entire time and reply to every single name of everybody that wants to play with me or whatever. So it's like, okay, I have to ignore some of it, but um, how does some of it come through? And then I've got some cool collaborations that I'm going to be doing in the future as well, and some stuff that I've got lined up. So it's like, it definitely is a very important part, I think, of content creation, and I think everybody's gonna handle it differently. Some people really only play with some of the people that they initially had come up with or, had played with. Some are more open to different collaborations and bringing people on. I think it's a really fun experience playing with different people and getting the opportunity to, see where some of the content goes playing with different people. So it's always like, it's a fun thing to give it a go, see how it feels, because it can be completely different experience from what I'm used to, and it's good to get outside of my comfort zone, I feel, and like learn those things and see how I can even handle them. So maybe, hey, do you want to come on and do some sea shanties for?
Yeah, totally. I'm not sure anyone's gonna watch, but I'm happy to come and do it. I think Anywolf just made a point about talking about content creation. He's used to stream lots of games. He got tired of the saturation and pressure of trying to be really good at every new game. So he decided to just go with retro games and RPGs, and he's seen a lot more growth since doing that. So I think just evidence right there in the chat from Anywolf is he was doing a lot of different things, and then he decided just to focus on a couple of things, and that helped him grow on that side. So I think it's just important to you should try lots of things, but be ready to kind of focus.
I think it goes back to what you were saying about, like, being true to yourself, being, what interests you, where do you kind of thrive, and kind of choosing a path going down it. Because when you have trade-offs, when you actually do make decisions and go down like a trade-off, and maybe you forego something else, that's where things get really interesting to other people to see, like, oh, what does that look like? If you're really good at doing sea shanties, like, holy crap, that's super interesting. That's different, even if it's like crazy different. So yeah, 100%. That's awesome.
The chat is telling me to do a sea shanty. I am not going to do a sea shanty. It's just not. It's not going to happen. You don't want to hear it. I promise you. But the chat is also saying that they're waiting on your VTuber appearance.
Oh yeah, we still got to do that.
So
too.
yeah, we gotta get that VTuber hooked up.
Figure that out.
Okay, we are at time. We've ran a little bit over today. I just want to recap again. We opened the show with, so for those of you that just joined, we opened the show with our scholarship recipients. So incredibly excited to roll this program out. A lot of work behind the scenes has gone into making it happen, and we had hundreds of applications. We chose 3 winners: Television on Facebook, Iron Smithy on Twitch, and So We're Sable on Twitch. We'll post this on our socials, but go check them out. Please support them. We're really putting a lot of effort into helping them turn their passion into career. And again, if you've been interested in applying, we will be opening up the applications again in a couple of months, so stay tuned for that. Just keep grinding, keep working your ass off, keep doing the good work. Stone, I think it's time we wrap it up.
Awesome. Yeah, if you guys want to find anything else, of course, you can find it over at pipeline.gg. Thank you so much for joining in on the show today. Lots of cool stuff going on, and even more continuing as we do these every other week on Facebook, Twitch. Stay tuned. Make sure you're following Pipeline, and we'll see you next time.
Adios.